Morning, all. All right, so 10 games tonight in the National Hockey League, and the latest start is at 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific, meaning for a short while, all 10 of these games will be going on at the same time. There are also two games starting on the half hour. So, yeah, for me, it's going to be a long stretch of no break from the hockey, but it'll be still an early night. So, anyways, all right, so we'll see how it goes. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. We have three games starting then, beginning with the Seattle Kraken and the Buffalo Sabres. This is the first of two meetings. They'll meet again in Seattle on March the 18th. The Kraken are 16, 14, and 9, and they've been much better over the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 weeks. They are tied with Edmonton for that last playoff spot in the West, although Edmonton is the one above the line. Seattle's the one below it. Seattle scoring 2.69 goals per game, allowing 2.85 goals against. Ellie Tolvanen, 10 goals, 14 assists, 24 points. Maybe their most consistent player right now. At least he's up there, but there's been a lot of contributions from all around the lineup. Buffalo 17, 19, and 4 overall. They're 6 points behind the New Jersey Devils for that final playoff spot in the East. They're scoring an even 3 goals per game and allowing 3.33 goals against per game. Skinner, 16 goals, 15 assists, 31 points. You know what you get with Skinner, and it looks like he's going to have another 30-goal season on his hands this year. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific start between the LA Kings and the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is also the first of two meetings. The second meeting will take place in Los Angeles on March the 23rd. For LA, they're 20, 10, and 6 overall. They're 5 points ahead of Edmonton, so they're third in the division. But yeah, they do have to watch for the Oilers. They're scoring 3.36 goals per game, allowing 2.42 goals against per game. Trevor Moore has slowed down lately, but he does still have 17 goals with 9 assists for 26 points. On the Tampa Bay side, they're 19, 17, and 5. They're 1 point back of the New Jersey Devils for that final playoff spot in the East. So with a win tonight, they can jump above the line. Scoring 3.24 goals again or goals for per game, allowing 3.49 goals against per game. Braden Point, 19 goals, 23 assists, 42 points. At this rate, it looks like he'll only get maybe 40, 45 goals this year. But with a good second half, he'll still hit 50. He had 50 last season, so we'll see. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific start between San Jose and Toronto, and this is the first of two of the trap magnets I've got on the board. So it's trap magnet for a few reasons. First off, Toronto coming off of a very successful road trip, and their most recent game being the January 6th 4-1 game against the same San Jose Sharks, which they won. San Jose coming in, there's no pressure on them. Toronto comes back home. Could that potentially be a tough one? Because teams' first games at home after road trips, you can see teams let down a little bit. But San Jose's 9, 28, and 3. They're 20 points behind the Edmonton Oilers for that final playoff spot in the West, scoring an even 2 goals per game and allowing 4.03. Tomas Hertl, 13 goals, 15 assists, 28 points. Their most consistent player so far this year. Toronto, 20, 10, and 7. They're 3 points ahead of Detroit in their division. Scoring 3.49 goals per game, which is good, allowing 3.22 goals against per game. They need that to come down. And the good news is it has been coming down thanks to Martin Jones's play. Mitch Marner, 15 goals, 25 assists, 40 points. With Marner, it looks like he might be on pace for 90 points this year, which would be considered kind of a disappointment, which is odd. But when you're highly paid as he is, that can be a thing. But the trap magnet just meaning I would not be surprised to see the underdog secure victory tonight. It has been 11 games since the San Jose Sharks had a win. Maybe. 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, the Vancouver Canucks and the New York Islanders renew their acquaintances. I watched the game in person on November 15th where Vancouver won in overtime 4-3. Fun game. Vancouver's now 26, 11, and 3. They're coming off the win in MSG last night. They are 4 points ahead of Vegas atop the division, scoring 3.88 goals per game, allowing 2.6 goals per game. Pettersson, 19 goals, 33 assists, 52 points. I checked. That's pretty good. On the Islanders side, they're 18, 11, and 10 overall. They're tied with Philly for third place. They do have the tiebreaker right now on Philly. 3.08 goals per game, 3.26 goals against per game. They do need to reverse those numbers. Barzell's been very good this year, 11 goals, 29 assists for 40 points. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. We have three games starting then, beginning with the Anaheim Ducks and the Nashville Predators. November 14th, Anaheim won this matchup 3-2. Since then, Anaheim's been pretty bad. Nashville's been pretty good. The third and final meeting between these teams will be February the 25th. For Anaheim, they're 13, 25, and 1. They're 14 points behind Edmonton in that final playoff spot In the West, they're scoring 2.46 goals per game, allowing 3.33 goals against per game. Trevor Zegras in 19 games this season, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points. His totals have been getting better. On the San Jose side, Nashville side, a shark and a cat look very much alike. I know I've made that mistake once or twice, right? So yeah, Nashville 22-17-1 is their overall record. They are 4 points ahead of St. Louis in their division. So St. Louis would be the next divisional team that could pass them. But yeah, Nashville in a playoff spot right now. 3.1 goals per game scored, 3.13 goals allowed per game. Nyquist continues to have a really strong season, 10 goals, 22 assists, 32 points. He's on pace for about 65 points. That's pretty darn good. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific start between the Florida Panthers and the St. Louis Blues. So Florida, 7 wins in a row, looking for 8. St. Louis did win this matchup on December 21st by a score of 4-1. We'll see what happens in this one. Florida, 25-12-2 overall. They're 5 points ahead of Toronto, so they're second in the division. 3.15 goals per game scored, 2.51 goals allowed per game for the Florida Panthers. Carter Verhaeghe's been excellent lately, 22 goals, 17 assists, 39 points. But when you're on a 7-game winning streak, a lot of guys are playing really well. St. Louis 20-17-1 overall. They are tied with Edmonton in terms of points in the West, although not above the playoff line. 2.82 goals scored per game, allowing 3.13 goals against per game. Kevin Hayes, who I'm sure we'll be discussing in a news video. If Hayes is as fired up as he sounded last night, you know what? That 9 goals, 10 assists, 19 points, he might be due for a goal or a couple tonight. So we'll see. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific start between Columbus and the Winnipeg Jets. He basically says he has nothing to do with Cutter Gauthier deciding he didn't want to play for the Flyers. That was a rumor that came out immediately after that trade took place last night. But anyways, Columbus and Winnipeg have also got a trap magnet there. Why? Winnipeg's playing really, really well. And they're I feel like they're due for one of those games where maybe they're a little bit flat. Columbus is a team that could take advantage of that at times. This is the first of 2 meetings. They'll meet again in Columbus on March the 17th. Columbus is 13-19-9 overall. They're 9 points back of the New Jersey Devils for that final playoff spot in the East. So they're not completely out of it, but they're not really in it either. 3.05 goals scored per game, 3.63 goals against per game. Cole Sillinger coming off a hat trick. 7 goals, 10 assists for Cole this year, so at least it's a bounce back from last season. On the Winnipeg side, they're 26-9-4 overall. They're 1 point ahead of Colorado atop the division. 3.38 goals scored per game, 2.38 goals allowed per game by the Winnipeg Jets. Lowry's been really good, and lately he's been leading in every way possible. 8 goals, 10 assists, 18 points for Lowry. So we'll see how that one goes. 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific, the Edmonton Oilers in against Chicago. Well, the last time Chicago played a team from Alberta, this one, they won. So can they do it again? Well, the Oilers have beaten Chicago already this season on December the 12th, 4-1. The third and final meeting will be on January the 25th. Edmonton's 20-15-1 on the season. They're scoring 3.58 goals per game. They're allowing 3.14 goals against per game. Nugent Hopkins, 11 goals, 26 assists, 37 points. Didn't expect him to end up around the 100-point mark again this season, but hey, above a point per game is still above a point per game. Chicago 12-28-2 is their overall record. They are 15 points back of Edmonton for that final playoff spot, where Edmonton does reside in that final playoff spot. 2.35 goals scored per game by Chicago, 3.75 goals against. Blackwell had a really good game last time out. We'll see if he can do it again. 10 games, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points for Colin Blackwell. 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific. The last 2 games start then. So again, there will be 10 games on at the same time. Beginning with Boston and the Arizona Coyotes here. December 9th in Boston. The Bruins won that game 5-3. Boston 24-8-7 coming off the shootout loss against Colorado last night. They're 3 points ahead of Florida atop the division. So Florida's right there. If Boston were to lose and Florida were to win, we'll see. 3.36 goals scored per game by Boston, 2.67 goals against per game. Pasternak, 24 goals, 32 assists, 56 points. Continues to be incredible. I would have put a trap magnet here, but Boston coming off that loss last night, they should come out with some desire to win this one tonight. And so it'll be a matter of how the game goes beyond that first 10 minutes. I think Boston should have a good first 10 minutes. Now they'll be down 3-0 after the first 10 minutes. The stupid hockey guy made this happen. Yeah, Arizona 19-17-2 overall. They're 1 point back of the Oilers in that final playoff spot in the West. 2.95 goals scored per game, 3 goals allowed per game. So those numbers have turned on Arizona. Arizona needs to turn this around quickly here. Bugstad, 6 goals, 15 assists, 21 points. Feels like he's due. Hard-working forward and all that. 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific start between Ottawa and Calgary. So I'm wearing the Flames because it feels like they're due. They've got to get back to NHL 500, right? So Ottawa won this matchup at home November the 11th by a score of 4-1. We'll see what happens tonight. Ottawa 14-21 is their overall record. They're 16 points back in New Jersey in that final playoff spot in the East. It's not great when you're further out of the playoffs than the Ducks, but here we are. 3.229 goals scored per game by Ottawa, 3.57 goals allowed per game. Brady Tkachuk, 16 goals, 12 assists, 28 points. The points total's not where I'd expected them for Tkachuk this year, but we'll see if he can turn that around. Calgary, 17-18-5. They are 2 points back of the Edmonton Oilers for that final playoff spot. 3.03 goals scored per game, 3.18 goals allowed per game. Blake Coleman continues to be their best player, 15 goals, 15 assists, 30 points overall. So, let me know your winners in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.